everybody, welcome to another edition of Toddster's Magical Mystery Review. I'm your host Toddster, and today we're going to take a look at this magnificent album here, All Things Must Pass, from George Harrison. Yep, there we go. Came out November 27th, 1970 on Apple Records, and yeah, this is a great album here. So anyway, this is George's first post-Beatles album. In fact, his first proper studio solo album. He made a couple albums before. The first one was the Wonderwall soundtrack, and I had lots of Indian music and some psychedelic instrumentals and all that. And then the second one he did was electronic sound. That was for Zappo Records, and that was his little doodles on the Moog synthesizer. But yeah, anyway, this is a triple record set, and the reason why, because he had so much material that he wrote for the last 5 years, and he tried him out with the Beatles, but they weren't very interested in them and all that, But anyway, he got together with Phil Spector, and who helped produce this album, and George gathered all his friends. He brought in Ringo and Eric Clapton and all sorts of people, and they made this album, and it's a fantastic album. And so let's take a look at the songs, if I may. So we start off with "I'd Have You Anytime," which George wrote with Bob Dylan around Thanksgiving '68, when George visited him in Woodstock. And it's a very nice, gentle ballad and great guitar solo from Clapton. And then we go into the big hit single, "My Sweet Lord." Now this is the first number one hit single from any ex-Beatle at that time, and yet he wrote this inspired by the "Oh Happy Day" hymn, but then he got sued because everyone thought that he was inspired by "He's So Fine," the old Chiffons tune, but nevertheless, it's a great song. I love the key changes, when it goes to E to F sharp, and the Hallelujah, Hare Krishna backing vocals, and man, what a song. And then we go into "Wah Wah." Now this was probably the first song that they recorded for this album, and this one George wrote after he had after he temporarily left the Beatles during the Let It Be sessions. So he put all his frustration into that song, and yes, it's a great song, but too much wall of sound. That's my opinion. And then we go into "Isn't It a Pity." Now this is the first version. This one goes back to 1966, and the two versions here, this is the most definitive version, the 7-minute version. And yeah, it's a good song, especially towards the end when you get like 3 different backing vocals, singing differently. You have the "What a pity, it's a pity," and then you have another one with the very low key, low voice backing, and then the "Hey Jude" na na nas as well. And yeah, I love that. And then so we flip the record into side 2, and we go to the next hit single, "What Is Life." And this one he actually wrote for Billy Preston originally, but then he sort of took a go on himself, and it's a pretty cool song, and I love the fuzzy guitar riff and the Motown feel, and another classic song. Then we go into If Not For You. Now this is the only cover tune. This is a Dylan song, which is okay, nothing more. Then we go to Behind That Locked Door. Now this was George wrote this actually for Dylan. Once he went, he did the Isle of Wight festival the year before, and after once he came out from his reclusive, and it's sort of like a reply. It's like go back and perform again and all that. But it's a beautiful song, a beautiful steel guitar from Pete Drake. And it's magical. And then we go into Let It Down. Now this is another good song, but again, too much raw sound. But I do like the major seventh chords throughout the song. But and then we go into Run of the Mill. Now George wrote this about the whole mess at Apple, and I do like the meter changes, and the acoustics. The acoustic guitars are brilliant. And then that's the end of the first side. But then let's talk about some of the bonus tracks. So If I Live For You. Now this one didn't came out, but I guess George didn't thought it was good enough for the album, but it should have been on the album. But anyway, this one has the original vocal and Pete Drake's steel guitar, while George and his son Danny put a new backing around the song, and it's lovely. And then we go to the demo version of Beware of Darkness. Now, I'll tell you all about the song shortly, but talk about the demo. And, it's just George and his guitar. And, it's sort of nice to hear these types of demos, before the Spectre sprinkling, And even says, Beware of Abco, which was Alan Klein's company, trying to take over Apple. And then we go into another demo, an overdub demo, actually. Let It Down. Now as I said, the release version, too much raw sound, but this version I really like the best, in my opinion. And so George overdubbed the original demo with more lead acoustic guitars and some warm keyboards from Ray Cooper, and it's lovely. I just love how it flows. And then we go into What Is Life, the backing track. Now this one has extra horns that wasn't used on the final master, which is pretty cool. Then we go into the remake of My Sweet Lord 2000, and it's a new version, and yet George did a new vocal on it, and a guitar solo, because I think he said he would improve it more than the original one. But it's pretty cool. And I remember hearing this constantly, once George died, on the radio, and it's a bit of improvement from the original, but it's still a great song. It's a great version. Then we go into side 3, back to the album. side 3, Beware of Darkness. And yeah, it's a song that really holds true, even today. It's like George's little warnings about, the everyday corruptions, from politicians and dying rock stars, And then we go into Apple Scruffs. Now this is George's lovely tribute to all the hardcore Beatle fans that that sort of camp outside their homes and and their offices, and everywhere they were in London. They all these fans would stay out there, and George even came up with the term Apple Scruffs. So yeah, it's a lovely song. And then we go into Ballad of Sir Frankie Crisp, Let It Roll in parentheses. Yeah, this is about Sir Frankie Crisp, who was a 19th century lawyer who actually owned the Friar Park home, which George purchased earlier that year. The 33-acre home, which was his home till his dying day, and yeah, it's pretty cool. And then we go into Awaiting on You All. That was this another song heavily influenced by the Krishna movement, and yet another heavy wall of sound tune. But then we end the third side with All Things Must Pass, the title song. And yeah, this was inspired by the band, Robbie Robertson and company, and also a Timothy Leary poem. And this was shamefully rejected by the Beatles. I mean, I wish they would have done this song, but nonetheless, it's a great song from George, and even I do recommend hearing Paul McCartney's version of it from the concert of George, which they had a year after George had died. And it does, if it doesn't give you a tear or two, I don't know what will. It's beautiful and lovely. And then so we flip the record. I Dig Love. That's sort of a filler song, in my opinion. So skip that. And then we go into The Art of Dying. Now this is another song which dates back from '66. Based on Hinduism and reincarnation, and yeah, it's a very, very heavy record and very philosophical as well. Then we go into the next, the second version of Isn't It a Pity? Yeah, it's a more stripped down version. Not as powerful as the first one. Then Hear Me Lord. Yeah, another heavily religious tune. Not as great as My Sweet Lord, in my opinion, but there you go. And then so that's the second disc. So then we go into the third disc, which is the Apple Jam disc, and George and the company, and made these little jam sessions, and so I guess George wanted to put them out as a little free discs, and some of them are good, some of them not so good. I mean, out of the blue, just 11 minutes, all in one key, in the key of C. Yeah, it does get a bit tiring after like 3 or 4 minutes, but then they go into It's Johnny's Birthday. Now, George did this for John Lennon's 30th birthday in the tune of Cliff Richard's Congratulations. I Do Love Me. Yeah, I would like to hear the proper version without the little slow down and fast and speed up, very speed tricks. But yeah, it does have its charm. And then Plug Me In, the 12-bar upbeat jam, which is a good jam, and another good jam. I Remember Jeep. Yeah, more of a shuffle jam with some little Moog doodles back from the Electric Sound LP. And in case you're wondering about the title, Jeep was Eric Clapton's dog. And then we finally end the album with Thanks for the Pepperoni. It's more of a Chuck Berry type driven jam, you know, and you know which the title came from Lenny Bruce. Yeah, so that's the album. So let's talk about the artwork, the album cover here. Now this picture, yeah, we go. There we go. Now this picture was taken by Barry Feinstein, or Feinstein, whatever you know. And yeah, it's taken outside Friar Park, you know, with George surrounded by these little gnomes, and you know, some might say that these gnomes are like the Beatles or so, but you know, sort of like that. But you know, it's you know, I couldn't help, you know, I wasn't sure if they were actual gnomes or, you know, midgets, you know, dressed up as gnomes, but you know. But yeah, and as you can see, this was packaged in a box instead of a, you know, a gatefold. And you know, like in those days, you usually see boxed you see these boxed vinyl sets, you know, especially for the classical albums and all that. And yeah, but then it came with a poster, which I don't have it here because well, this is my mom's copy, so it was lost somewhere. But it did came with the CD, so this is what it would look like. There we go. Yeah, a bit dark, but it's pretty beautiful. And yeah, so what to say about this album? Well, as I said, it's definitely a great album. Yeah, it's just like, you know, like just one great song after another. But however, I do like to see the like just what they did with the Let It Be album. You know, the Let It Be Naked. Wish there was like a All Things Must Pass Naked album. You know, without all the Spectre reverb sprinkling, so to speak. But yeah, as far as ranking, I would give this 4.5 Georges out of 5. You know, I would give this 5-star, but you know, I'm not too crazy about the Apple Jam section. But yeah, 4.5 Georges out of 5. So there you have it. All Things Must Pass by George Harrison. So, my name is Toddster. I just watched another Toddster's Magical Mystery Review. And I'll see you next time. Until then, toodaloo.